Now, again, we are getting some warning signals that we might get a pullback. We had a signal here just before we tested that high at 108,000. We hit 109,000. And then with this lower high that's now setting up, we're getting some warning signs. Okay. And the little X is the same thing. It's saying short-term momentum could change. That's what it's saying, that we put in a short-term top with reference to the momentum. So we're probably going to turn. And again, the S&P and Bitcoin doing the exact same thing. Both of them rising up, moving slightly higher than the previous peak, and then turning down off of it. That's what happened. The stock market is following Bitcoin. The S&P is exactly. We're watching to see if momentum turns, and even if it does, again, it might just be a pullback, again, much like what we had over here before going higher. But it was those negative divergences that tipped us off to the peak up here. We talked about that with the topping tail. So again, we'll be watching this, but right now the momentum's bullish. The trend is bullish. The swing move is bullish here. It's turned back to green over here. Again, it was neutral. And again, we had these bullish signals at this key support level. First here, we got the bounce after nearly a 16% drop, and then the short-term top, and then here again we bounced off the trend line, and that was followed by this bullish signal here with the momentum line turning back to bullish, the blue line there, and then this trending signal for the short-term swing move here with the cloud turning back to bullish. And the cloud was green, and then back to red there, and then now back to green. Again, a sideways trading range. And all the while that the bottom was forming, testing the trend line, well, guess what? We put in these green bars as we got the bounce off the trend line of support and got these bullish signals being validated. So again, momentum is likely going to give us some kind of pullback. And again, I think you're getting a wave one and a wave two. Again, still possible we go a little bit higher above this level and then pull back. But my guess is that we're probably getting a pullback and maybe backtest of the bull flag pattern. I think the S&P and Bitcoin are both going to do the same thing. So even though we got an immediate pullback and backtest with inauguration day, which was this rally of 8%, and then it failed, I think we end up getting a bigger pullback to backtest that bull flag pattern that we looked at earlier. Now, we do have, as far as the momentum line, it's still bullish, but the bar reflecting momentum is starting to turn red. We'll see. It won't be final until it closes at the end of the session on Thursday. Now, similar, I have the bars here, but only reflecting the trend. The other was reflecting momentum, and it's turning orange. It went from green to orange, back to green, back to orange. And again, the warning sign that, hey, maybe we get a pullback here. Now, the impulse line usually is the first to turn up or down. Again, it tipped us off to the bottom over here. It's still bullish. It's still blue there. But again, I expect we're going to get some kind of pullback here in all likelihood. The 23% rise, I think we'll digest those gains. So again, we're going to be looking at the cloud here. And then we had our background turn back to green here. We had this ribbon flip from red back to green. Again, all these are bullish trending signals for the short-term trend. And again, this line right here, do you see this line right here? This purple line, and then it went red and went flatlined, and it kind of went back and forth from changing colors back and forth. And now it's been, since we had this bottom and turned back up, it's turned back to purple. And again, it represents the short-term swing move, which is still bullish. So again, I expect a pullback, but then I think we're going to get a Fibonacci retracement, and maybe we even try to take this level out, but then resume the advance or get another bottoming tail or something. Again, momentum was validated going into positive territory. I warned you about all my oscillators forming these bullish divergences, and we talked about bouncing off that trend line with these bullish divergences, and that's exactly what happened. So Bitcoin's going to pull back at some point, maybe right now, but again, I remain bullish, and I think that it's going to go higher and try to clear this area. And again, we tried it right here, and it failed with the topping tail. I think we'll end up clearing that after building momentum, probably with a pullback to get a higher low, which again, I do believe this low right here is likely going to hold. I remain bullish on Bitcoin. Now, in the daily time frame, momentum and the trend signals are bullish. In the weekly time frame, momentum and trend signals are bullish. And again, another wonderful signal. The bullish signal played out here beautifully. The bearish signal up here played out beautifully with these divergences. Right here, you can see it with momentum. We had it also with the RSI and the MACD and a lot of different indicators. Those signals doing an outstanding job as usual. I wanted to warn you about this in the video today, that again, we're getting these potential momentum signals saying, hey, a short-term top is being put in here. So again, a pullback to be watching for that. Momentum signals, again, can shift. I think you're probably going to establish a higher low. Please support the channel with the link directly below. That allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, let me know that by supporting the channel today. I don't have any sponsors. I turn all those offers down. Just want a direct relationship with you. You know, changes contact me all the time, and they want me to be sponsored by them, and I turn it down because, again, send you to these exchanges and have them get you all leveraged up to wipe you out. Just ask that you do what you can to help out and support the channel today. You follow the link below to take you to a secured site, and you can donate any amount you want. I thank you for your consideration for that. Now, again, the momentum here with our bullish reversal of conditions remains bullish for Bitcoin. I had pointed out with the right shoulder that developed with Bitcoin, we had the drop of 6% on Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin futures. We had that drop, and we hit the trend line of support. We bounced off of it, the 2024 trend line there from late 2024, and we bounced off of that, and we weren't able to flip the momentum here. And here we bounced off that 50-period moving average with the Bitcoin futures here. Again, we did move slightly higher. So again, if we do get a bigger pullback, there's going to be a lot of talk about a double top. Remember, we had that head and shoulders, and I told you I thought it was a fake out pattern. I still think that Bitcoin is going to move above this area in all likelihood and reach the upper channel line on the weekly chart, moving likely towards 120 to 125,000 if we reach it over the next several weeks here. But if it goes on longer, on into March or into the second quarter possibly, then again it could be higher. Trend line is my target, which is the next level of resistance for Bitcoin. Even if we get a bigger pullback, I do expect, or another back test of the breakout, I do expect we're going to see green here on the awesome oscillator. I think you're going to form this larger divergence on Bitcoin that will eventually allow it to move up to the upper channel line, up to that 120, 125,000 area. So again, we still have a bullish reversal of conditions. We tried to flip it here, and we bounced off that trend line of support that I've been talking about. We bounced off horizontal support after breaching it, dropping 6%. We turned back up and we rallied big time. So again, we weren't able to flip the signal to bearish here, and it remains bullish here with the awesome oscillator and, with the cloud, and the awesome oscillator remains positive. I think you'll end up seeing green bars and a larger divergence develop. I'm looking for something similar to develop on the RSI and other indicators, momentum and so forth. And the breakout of the bull flag, we saw this flip back to bullish. All my weekly signals began to flip back to bullish, either just ahead of the breakout or again right with it, with that breakout and back test. Which, whoops, wrong bar, back over here. So again, and we saw the weekly signals, many of them turned there or just ahead of that, momentum flipping here earlier, again, after our higher low at 52,000, which I've talked about, momentum signals flipping earlier, trend signals shortly thereafter with the breakout or just before the breakout. I am expecting a bigger pullback with Bitcoin. We got an immediate back test when we broke out at the bull flag. I expect it's going to likely get bigger, but we had this head and shoulders, and I told you I thought it was a fake out pattern, and I warned you again here that we were going to bounce, and when we rallied back up, I told you watch to see, did we get a higher low or do we get a lower low? And if we got a lower low, I told you to be watching this trend line and the 100-period moving average. I did not think that the measurement of the pattern down to 74,000, which is again down here at this level, just below our 200-period moving average. I told you I didn't think that was going to play out. I thought it was a wave 4. I thought it was a fake out pattern, and now we're going to probably hear about a potential double top. The S&P is following Bitcoin. It moved to a new high today and then pulled off of the highs, just like Bitcoin did on Inauguration Day. So we're going to hear about double top pattern, and again, we're likely going to set up a higher low. This is probably, we've now completed minor wave 4 here. We're starting minor wave 5. We're probably going to get wave 1 and 2 of minor wave 5, and then go on and get the parabolic 3, 4, and 5, and make our way towards $120,000 to $125,000 on Bitcoin. Momentum had this bullish divergence, which played out nicely. Again, all my signals had these divergences. I warned you about that, and I warned you again that, again, it told us that we weren't going to sell off and drop nearly 18% with Bitcoin. When we got down here, they got very bearish, and they told us, "Oh, we're all going to die, and we're going to have this big sell-off with Bitcoin." Bearish when we hit the trend lines of resistance, and when we had that first leg down, but when we started getting this sell-off, then they turned bearish, and I told you it's likely an ABC move and a fake-out pattern. Third got extremely bearish, and they were extremely bullish, telling us the sell-off was never going to happen at the top, and again, we off those trend lines. I warned you as we were rallying up. We were rallying towards those trend lines. Again, my signals back to bullish with the bullish breakout right here, the breakout of the bull flag pattern. Again, all the weekly signals, the trend signals turned bullish there or just before that. Momentum turned after we hit the 52,000 area and turned. And my signals have been consistently bullish except for this sell-off. We've had a couple of downturns and they reverted back right back to bullish. Here, the 18% did a very nice job off of the trend line, which we warned you was going to happen with the triple divergence on indicators that had set up here with momentum on the RSI and many others. Whoops, sorry about that. Made it disappear. Hit the wrong button. So anyways, I think we could get a bigger pullback or even throw back to the trend line. That's possible, or have this drag out, something like that, or something deep and maybe get a bottoming tail and try to push back up. But I think you're probably going to get a bigger back test in all likelihood. You're wrong. I still think Bitcoin is going to go higher. But again, it's stalling here at this resistance, and I think we'll build momentum now to clear this level. We hit 108,000 here, 109,000 here as predicted this rally, and I told you I've been predicting this rally, and I'm predicting much higher levels for Bitcoin. But I do think that it's going to likely peak at the next level of resistance, which I think is going to come in around 120 to 125,000. I might revise that up because the trend line on the weekly chart is my target, not a number. Currently, it's hovering in that 120 to 125,000 area. Are you picking up what I'm throwing down? But these trend lines played out beautifully. And again, we hit the lower boundary here. And again, you got a really nice bull flag there. So a breakout, probably a larger back test, an immediate one, and then went up and made a new high. I think we get a larger one, and I think there's further consolidation before going higher. But I remain bullish on Bitcoin. Momentum's going to flip down briefly here, and I think my weekly signals will still remain bullish. And that's why I told you this was likely a wave 4, because again, my weekly signals remain bullish from back over here, telling me the move is likely not done. So I remain bullish on Bitcoin, but I expect that we're probably going to get a bigger pullback, move towards a Fed meeting, and we're going to move into the heart of earnings season for the stock market. Those are linear scaling. We bounced out that. With our log scaling, we violated the trend line, violated horizontal support, and then we closed back above it. So again, either trend line, and again, this is with the log scaling. The other one is linear scaling, where we include the shadow. Here we exclude it, but we bounced off of the trend line with both of those scalings on the daily chart. So again, a lot of people in crypto just look at the linear. That's why we bounced up that trend line, as I told you. But again, I look at both log and linear. Again, called the top as we slammed up into the trend line, getting this divergence right here. And I told you it was likely we were going to get a pullback. We ended up pulling back by initially under 16%, bounced. We rallied up about 12.25%, and then we ended up dropping from the high at about 18, nearly 18%, just under 18%. So again, now we've had this big rally back up. Again, it's likely that we're going to get some kind of pullback, and again, back test that trend line of the bull flag, the upper boundary of the bull flag that we broke out of. But the divergences helped us nail the bottom. And again, these bullish divergences I've been talking about didn't mark it on this chart right here, but the bullish divergences on my other charts with the RSI there and many other indicators marked the bottom there at that trend line of support. And here you can see it on the MACD. I didn't mark it on this chart yet. right there. The bullish diversions, the bearish diversions nailed it. The bullish diversions nailed it. Did a good job. Again, I think Bitcoin's eventually going to make its way up here. And again, we'll probably see some kind of pullback or maybe roll over, but stay in positive territory and get some kind of pullback. And then I think you're going to get this divergence that eventually forms here. And that could go on into February, drag out into March. We'll see. But I'm looking for a peak with Bitcoin in the first quarter. And I think it's going to rally up to the 120, 125,000 area, which is the next level of resistance. Should we clear this trend line of resistance, which we've stalled at yet again at the 109,000 area there on the weekly chart. I remain bullish on Bitcoin, but I do expect in all likelihood a larger pullback than what we got with the breakout initially. Like I said, I expect this low is going to hold. I'm looking for a higher low, and we'll see. And you know, do we go higher before we get it? Again, day trader looking for short-term price fluctuations. I'm looking at the main movement. The main movement is we've had wave 4. Now I'm looking for wave 5. Now, from the 6% sell-off that took out this level that everybody freaked out about, we're all going to die. And I told you we were going to bottom around this trend line of the 100 period moving average, one or the other, because I was looking for an ABC move. We've now risen up. Okay, we've now risen up nearly 23% to that high. And now you have a potential pullback at resistance here, exactly what the S&P did today. It's following Bitcoin just spot on. And again, could see a bigger pullback to this trend line right here. Again, we broke out, we back tested, and again, had an immediate back test, had a test of the peak, and now again, we could see further consolidation or a Fibonacci retracement. I've marked the Fibonacci's here from this high, from this low to the high here. And again, we hit the 50% retracement so far. We may see a 61.8 Fibonacci retracement down here to the 96,900 area, or 78.6 Fibonacci right here at 93,500 or so. So again, this 93,500, if we get a big retracement coming back down, if we get a 61.8 Fibonacci, about just under 97,000, about 96,900 and some change. So looking at these levels carefully. The odds favor a pullback here. Again, I continue to be bullish on Bitcoin, but I think momentum's probably going to down on some of my momentum indicators and give us a Bitcoin pullback, because I'm looking for a wave 1 and then a wave 2 and then on to get wave 3 and 4 and 5 to go higher to finish minor wave 5. Bitcoin for the session on Wednesday. We're now starting the Thursday session. Right now, down about 0.25%. For the Wednesday session, we were down 2.37% after rising back up to test the highs, but not being able to exceed them here. We moved up and we had a rally of 3.92%, coming back to that topping tail that we had on Inauguration Day. We had our 8% rally and we gave it all back, except for about 0.89% of it or so. Got a topping tail. So we could see, again, a bigger pullback to one of our Fibonacci levels, or even test the trend line again. We'll be watching, but I'm going to be looking for a higher low. I think this low is likely going to hold, and I expect after a nearly 23% move higher, Bitcoin to take a breather. That's what I expect, okay? We had some amazing calls. We called the top here with this topping tails. We slammed up into the trend lines in the weekly time frame. This bottoming tail, I told you we were moving to this trend line, nailed it. We were going to rally, get a breakout, and go make new highs. Nailed it. Did it. We're not done. I'm telling you now, we're again going to likely get a bigger pullback or further consolidation before we resume the advance. In all likelihood, I expect Bitcoin is going to go to 120 to 125,000, exceed this 109 and 108,000 peak that we currently have. Getting a bigger sell-off. Again, there's going to be a lot of talk. Oh, the double top. Just like the head and shoulders pattern, again, I think it's a fake out pattern, because I think this is an A, B, C move, okay? And now we're starting the minor wave 5. That was minor wave 4. I think we're going to get this subwave of the first wave up and then the second wave down before going higher. I told you that could have happened here had we got a higher low, but I told you if it wasn't, then wave 4 wasn't done with this, but wave 4 is this, this, and this, which is what happened. I talked about both possibilities, but again, the signals have been absolutely incredible. So we'll be watching right now. Bitcoin's down almost 0.5% now as I'm making the video here as we move into the Thursday session, a couple of hours into the trading session for Thursday. Again, at this previous low over here, I warned you that, again, we're likely going to set up a lower high and either come back and get a higher low if the move was done, or we're going to get a lower low moving towards the 100 period moving average to finish a divergence right here and bottom out. And the head and shoulders was going to be a fake out pattern, and everybody, oh yeah, here it goes. That's what the herd does. Oh, we're not going to sell off. We're going to keep going. And they ignore the negative diversions. And then we get the bullish diversions, and they go, oh, we're all going to die. Extremely bullish at tops and extremely bearish at bottoms. That's what the herd does. That's why I told you we were bottoming. That's why I told you we were topping over here. It's like we slammed up into my trend lines of resistance. Now, again, we've gone flatline. Now we're getting the momentum here turning back to bullish. Again, we could still drop back below it and get a retracement, a bigger retracement, but we're back in positive territory with the price oscillator, and the bullish diversions that I warned you about here has now played out, just like the bearish diversions that I warned you right here has played out. They did a very, very good job of marking the top and marking the bottom. As I warned you, both of those turns, the top and the bottom, the signals were correct again. Live it, love it, learn it. We've had a nearly 23% move up, so we'll be watching to see if we pull back further, but I expect this low is likely going to hold. I expect the price oscillator is likely going to stay in positive territory. Warned you that we were bouncing off key support. It was likely that we were going to bounce off of the VWAP support and the horizontal support here. That's the blue rectangles you see right here. We had a three-tier level of support here, and we bounced off this level and again got that bottoming tail. So again, we'll be watching to see if we pull back, and as long as we hold above these levels and hold above this low right there, hold above the low, then we can just pull back and then resume the advance. So we'll be watching to see how it unfolds. Is we have a double top. The narrative is going to be that if we start selling off sharply here, coming back and getting a retracement after rallying for 23%. The double top, just like the head and shoulders. And again, if we sell off, herd is going to get very bearish again. And again, that's going to be right before the next big move higher, which should be a wave 3, or subwave of wave 3 in minor wave 5. They're an absolutely amazing job acting as support here. VWAP support and the horizontal support levels. I warned you about the divergences possibly forming, which I thought that they would, and that was assuming we got a lower low and the wave 4 was not done yet, which I talked about. It could have been either one, but I told you if we went lower line and these divergences were likely going to set up. So again, signals remain bullish. We'll be watching to see if they remain that way. We're back into positive territory, but the bullish divergences on my oscillators played out beautifully. Again, talked about it here. Look at the bullish diversions. Talked about this. Again, we went positive. We went right back into the negative region, and I talked about a divergence developing here, and that played out. Now we're back in the positive region. So again, we're probably going to stay in the positive region, but as I've been talking about, if we pull back for a wave 2, we could move into the negative region depending on the negative region of the cloud here, depending on how big of a retracement we get. But I think that this low is likely to hold unless if it does flip, then again, we'll need to see my weekly signals all begin to turn back to bearish if we're going to get a bigger sell-off. My guess is that we're headed towards 120 to 125,000. I remain bullish on Bitcoin longer term because of the weekly charts remaining bullish, even though we're getting these short-term periods of volatility since we correctly called this top. Now correctly calling this bottom, my guess is that bottom is going to hold. So again, I expect we'll remain in positive territory here with many of my oscillators. Correctly call the top with the divergences and correctly call the bottom. The December top called the January bottom. I pointed out when we broke out, again, my signals turned back to bullish over the place. And when we broke out here, again, we moved into the positive region here, and we remained consistently in positive territory up until this peak right here. And notice, again, the pullbacks, we came back down to the center line here, and we didn't even reach it over here. But again, the pullback here, and then over here we came back, and everything remained bullish here as we had the breakout and the rise. So again, beautiful, beautiful signals. Again, while I'm expecting a pullback, a bigger pullback with Bitcoin, I remain bullish on Bitcoin in the weekly time frame. My momentum signals might turn bearish here in the daily time frame if we do get that pullback we'll be watching.